Lads, as always, before we do get into this video, make sure you are subscribed if you haven't done so already, and if you are enjoying all of my content. As well as that, then remember to like the video. It really does go a long way to give me as much support as possible. Also click the bell so you never miss out on one of my latest uploads. Also follow me over on Instagram for some extra content and regular updates. And so then, lads, let's get into today's Man United match reaction. Well, lads, what's the crack? And welcome back to the channel. It's good to be back uploading. And today I'm talking about Man United's 3-2 victory over Burnley. Now, of course, that was an action-packed game there. This is my match reaction to United's third game of the season. And finally, 4 games deep, we have finally got a victory. Even if it was done in the narrowest of fashions, a win is a win. 3 points on the board. That is the important thing from today's game. And I have to say, it's such big relief that we managed to win this one here, especially after the embarrassment midweek and getting knocked out of the Carabao Cup round 2 against Grimsby Town from League 2, 12-11 in penalties there. So the fact they've managed to sort of lift ourselves up from that game and go out there against Burnley, who, yes, you have to be beaten anyway, but still to go out there and win that one after the embarrassment midweek definitely is very good to see there, in my opinion. Now, overall, still was the good performance, definitely not, of course. Now, I did like the look of us here in this one once again. I thought we were very good going forward, of course, especially that first half. I mean, counter-attacking football was superb during that first half, and really, in my opinion, we should have been 2 or 3-0 up there. But as I expected during this game, we get so many good chances in the first half. We were only 1-0 up at half-time, and we should have been 2 or 3-0 up. As I expected, Burnley would come back, and they managed to score equalisers. That's exactly what they did here in this one. Now, yes, straight away from Burnley's equaliser, we would go 2-1 up. However, Burnley would then equalise once again, and we had to rely on a 97th minute winner from Bruno Fernandes from the spot after he missed the penalty last week against Fulham. The score this time around to win us the game here. So overall, the fact we left it that late, the fact we had to win it in that fashion certainly isn't ideal. However, still, the fact is, I'll reiterate it once again, we won this one here. We did look good in spells here in this one. Now, there was other spells during the game which we weren't looking good defensively, and going forward too, our shot taken very poor here. And once again, our shot taken should have been much better here in this one. We had 26 shots to, I think it was, I don't even know, 26 shots to 5, I think it was, the stats here in this one. We managed to get 3 goals from those 26 shots, one of which was a penalty, the other of which actually was an own goal too. Burnley, from their 5 shots, got 2 goals, sorry. Of course, Burnley, have to give them credit, in my opinion. They were very good here in this one. I thought Martin de Braaf getting nets was actually fantastic. He had a really good performance here in this one, and he was definitely unlucky a few times with some of our goals. As well as that, then I like to look at Hartman at left back. He looks like a real solid player. Even Kyle Walker too was looking very good at this one, surprisingly, at right back. And in their forward line, Jadon Anthony was very good. Lyle Foster was also very clinical in front of goal too. So overall, Burnley were good here in this one, I have to say. However, the fact we won this one here definitely is huge. But anyway, that's enough waffling on for me for now. Let's get into my player ratings. Starting off then, and that's with Altay Bayindir. I'm going to give Bayindir 5 here in this one. I think that's a fair enough rating for Bayindir because the main past 2 games he played against Arsenal and Fulham. Against Arsenal, he cost us that one there by giving Arsenal an easy goal. And against Fulham, for the corners and the set pieces, he was constantly falling over, and he can't defend set pieces. That really is what we learned last time out in the Premier League. However, today here in this one, have to say it wasn't great once again, but I did see improvements in his performance. The 2 goals Burnley did score, in my opinion, nothing much he could do there, of course. I mean, the first one, defensively, is just pretty poor there. He's never really going to save that one. And the second one, you know, it's a bit of a scramble. He does make a good save. However, he gets very unlucky there, of course, with some deflections. And of course, that's how Burnley got their second equaliser of the day. But overall, I thought Bayindir was very good. Once again, actually, his distribution was actually excellent here in this one. I thought 1 or 2 times in the match, you know, his distribution up front, this kickstart quick counter-attacks was looking very good here. And he did make a few saves. He didn't have to do too much here in this one. The fact that it could see 2 goals here in this one does make his rating go down a bit to 5. However, he was okay here in this one. He was definitely decent. However, still, he could have been better still. So in my opinion, Altay Bayindir deserves a rating of 5. The 3 back then, once again, it's very interesting. I mean, the 3 defenders, they just sort of stuck to the job, really. Didn't really do anything too spectacular. Luke Shaw will get a 5 here. He could have been a bit better once again. But once again, I think Luke Shaw definitely is getting a wee bit too much hate this season because he isn't really doing too much wrong, in my opinion. He's putting in decent performances here and there. He's not exactly setting the world alight, of course, with these performances. However, still, he's in there at the 3 back. He's getting the job done. He's doing whatever he needs to do here. And so once again, that was the case here in this one. So Luke Shaw, once again, for me, should get a 5 here. Matthias then will get a 6. I thought they once again did look pretty decent in centre back here. And Lenny Euro too can get a 6 as well. They and Euro, both those centre backs, both looking very good this season. Very good partnership there brewing, and so exciting to see how those two do perform with each other. other throughout the season, of course. But Luke Shaw gets a 5, letting Euro get a 6 here. I thought the centre back 3 here in this one definitely was decent enough here. Onto the wing backs then next, Diogo Dalot. I'm actually going to give Diogo Dalot a 6 here. Now, Dalot against Grimsby was absolutely terrible. He didn't even look like he was a proper professional footballer that day midweek. However, here in this one, have to say, before the game, I was sort of questioning Amram's decision to start Diogo Dalot here in this one. However, I thought overall his performance definitely did stun me because he was decent here in this one. He wasn't bad whatsoever. Now, he wasn't perfect either. There was a couple of occasions where he did make some bad mistakes. Like, I look back at late in the match when Maria are still chasing that winner. He runs the ball out of play needlessly, terrible touches, uncontrolled dribbling there, did lead to that, of course. And so stuff like that definitely didn't help him whatsoever. But then again, I thought going forward, he was looking pretty good for the most part. He got an assist for Brennan Boone's goal to make it 2-1 there right after. You can see that they make it 1-1. And so overall, I thought Dalot going forward was decent here in this one. I thought he would look much more improved here in this one. And even defensively, wasn't too bad once again here. So overall here, I thought we've seen a massive improvement in Diogo Dalot's performance. And so overall, I'm going to give Diogo Dalot a 6 here in this one. Meanwhile, for his counterpart at right wing back, Amad Diallo, I'm going to give Amad Diallo a 3 here. I thought Amad Diallo was terrible once again here. Now, he probably would have got a 1 from me if I did a match reaction for the Grimsby game because he was terrible that day in Grimsby at Bundle Park. He was in his preferred attacking midfield role that day too, and still he was terrible. He was slightly better today, however, still overall, I wasn't a fan of him whatsoever. He was doing nothing for us really in this game, nothing really of benefit really in my opinion. And so once again, it was back-to-back pair performances this week for Amad Diallo. I thought going forward, we just didn't see much intensity from him, of course. Maybe once or twice we did see decent intensity from him, but apart from that, he definitely was pretty slow for the most part. Negative football too, wasn't really running forward, wasn't trying to take defenders on. So once again, I don't know what's got into Amad Diallo. He's sort of turning into Alejandro Garnacho over the past number of games, and I don't like to look at it, of course, because not only is his sort of ability turning into Garnacho's, his attitude too definitely isn't looking too good either. His attitude definitely is not improving whatsoever. It's doing the opposite of improving. It's worsening over the past few games, and that's not promising to see because Amad Diallo last season was such a humble guy. Of course, he just stuck his head down and he let his football do his talking. But this season so far, what I'm seeing is his performances are not good enough and not up to standard whatsoever. And as well as that then, he's doing too much running, of course. He's flapping his arms in the air. He's going down too easily once again. Now, he did win us a penalty, which won us the game there. That definitely was a crucial moment in the game there, of course. But overall, still, I'm not happy with Amad Diallo. I think he really needs to improve big time. He needs to buckle up over the next coming games because I tell you what, we cannot afford to see a great talented player like Amad Diallo go down the same path that Alejandro Garnacho has recently gone down. And so hopefully in the next coming games, Amad Diallo can improve. But here in this one, although he won us a penalty, which won us the game, overall still, I wasn't impressed by him. And so a 3 here is what I'm going to give to the Ivorian. The midfield two then, starting up with Casemiro. I'm going to give Casemiro a 5 here. Now, mainly because he put the header in which led to our first goal, which ended up being an own goal by Josh Cullen there, of course. However, still, the header from Bruno's corner was very good there, in my opinion. But apart from that goal, really, was he great? Once again, not really, in my opinion. A couple of his passes were decent, of course, but overall, once again, he was looking a bit vulnerable there in midfield. I don't know, lads. I think 5 is a fair enough rating here once again. It was a strange enough one here for Casemiro. He wasn't too bad, but he wasn't too good either. However, he got the header, which led to our first goal, and so in my opinion, that should count for something. So the Brazilian for me will get a 5 here in this one. Bruno Fernandes alongside him then, of course. I'm going to give Bruno Fernandes a 6 here. Now, in Bruno's cameo midweek against Grimsby, when he did come off the bench, he definitely did manage to raise the intensity for the entire side, and so I thought I was very impressed by his cameo there, coming off the bench at Blundell Park in the Carabao Cup. And here in this one, once again, he was okay. I mean, once again, he wasn't too great here in this one. He definitely wasn't at his best once again here. However, still, overall, I thought he was decent here. Obviously, scored the winning goal for us there too. A very coolly taken penalty and a great response after missing the penalty, scanning the Craven Cottage there last week against Fulham too. And you could really see how much that goal meant to him there, judging by his celebrations after that goal and after the full-time whistle too. Overall, I think some of his passes were decent here in this one. He was okay going forward too. He wasn't doing too much bad decisions here in this one, like shooting from miles out, of course. He was recycling the ball a lot more. His overall decision-making was looking much more improved here in this one too. Overall, still there is improvements to come here. It wasn't perfect from Bruno Fernandes whatsoever once again here. However, still, I'm seeing improvements there definitely over the past game or two. do. And so in my opinion, stick by him and hopefully we see the best from Bruno Fernandes' return very soon. But here, this one, he won us the game. He was decent overall. A 6 for me is a fair enough rating for the Portuguese captain. On to the front three then, starting off with Mason Mount. Mason Mount came up at half time with an injury, I do believe it was actually, so hopefully he's okay there. However, still, Mason Mount, in my opinion, although he only played one half of football, he's going to get a 7 here. I thought Mason Mount looked fantastic here in this one. You know, such great intensity shown here in this one, especially in the first 10 minutes. He nearly won us a penalty within the first 15 minutes of the match there. Just about wasn't given there, of course. It was actually given a Burnley free out, which in my opinion, that baffled me there, of course. I thought it was a foul. I was okay with it not being a penalty because I think the referee made the right choice there. However, overall, I still do think it was a foul there, of course. I think Kyle Walker still does foul Mason Mount. But anyway, it didn't matter in the end of the day there, of course, you know. But Mason Mount overall, great intensity here, great tackling. You know, he was really energetic when on those counter-attacks, of course. He was a massive reason as the way we were so effective at counter-attacking quickly in the early stages of this one here, of course. And if it wasn't for, you know, our poor clinicality there in the first half, he could have easily got an assist for himself too. His passing going forward was fantastic here as well. He probably would have even got higher than a 7 if he wasn't forced off at halftime with an injury there. But overall, still really impressed with Mason Mount's performance here in this one. Looked really good here. So hopefully he's okay and hopefully he doesn't get injured. Hopefully he stays fit and injury free for as long as possible, because I tell you what, if there's one positive about Ruben Amorim at the minute, is he is getting the best out of Mason Mount finally, and so I'm all for seeing that. So Mason Mount here in this one, I was very impressed by his performance overall when he was playing, and so he can get a 7 here. Bryan Mbeumo as well then, of course, alongside him in the front three, he's also going to get a 7 here in this one too. I thought Bryan Mbeumo once again, very intense, very energetic when going on those quick counter attacks once again, very pacey too, great quick pace and getting them forward and getting up that pitch as quick as possible. That's what we want Bryan Mbeumo for, that, you know, the afterburners, you know, kicking in those afterburners like that, of course, in the counter attacks, and we've seen that once again here in this one. He got his first goal at Old Trafford, his first Premier League goal for United as well, after scoring midweek against Grimsby 2 to make a 2-1 there in that one. A great goal midweek, a great goal today as well. Great to see 2 goals in 2 games for Bryan Mbeumo, and he's looking like he's finally getting into his best form with United this season too. So hopefully a lot more to come from Bryan Mbeumo as well. Should have definitely got at least more than 1 goal in this one here, at least 2 goals for sure. He had some very good chances there in the first half. He should have put away definitely at least one of them too. But for overall, he got to go for himself here in this one. He was great in the counter-attacks. He was great going forward too. Very pacey, very energetic, full of intensity too. Great to see. Bryan Mbeumo gets a 7, just like Mason Mount. Mason Mount and Mbeumo definitely were the 2 best players in the pitch in this one for United here today. And to finish off the starting 11 then with Matheus Cunha, who got a 5 here. Matheus Cunha's day was unfortunately cut short with an injury 30 minutes into the match there, of course. However, he left Old Trafford today without crutches, without any leg brace as well. He was walking fine too, so that definitely is good news there for sure. He definitely shouldn't be out for very long, if at all anyway, of course. So hopefully then for the Manchester Derby 2 weeks time after the international break, we see Matheus Cunha back playing for United, of course. And but anyway, here in this one, Cunha, half an hour played, didn't really do too much, so a 5 here is the only real rating they can give him here. On to the subs then next. Joshua Zirkzee came on early for Matheus Cunha, and I was really looking forward to see Zirkzee play because he came on late on against Grimsby and he looked so good. He was taking players on, he looked energetic, he looked exciting, of course, and so I was looking forward to seeing more of that here in this one. However, we've seen the complete opposite. Zirkzee was terrible here in this one. I'm sorry, he's getting a 2 here. I was very unimpressed by Joshua Zirkzee's display here in this one. Hopefully he does improve in games to come as he gets more and more game time under his belt this season. But in my opinion, lads, he looks so poor, so lackadaisical on the ball, giving it away time and time again, constantly losing duels with Burnley players, and so overall, like, you know, he just couldn't keep the ball really. You know, going forward, he wasn't helping us whatsoever, getting tackled far too easily, giving the ball away too easily too. So Joshua Zirkzee here in this one, very poor. However, hopefully he picks himself up and goes again much better in the next coming games. Other subs then, Kobbie Mainoo, once again Mainoo, 7 here in this one. I thought Mainoo's performance when he could come on at half time there for Mason Mount was once again very promising. Hopefully he does not leave on loan. I know he was trying to push for a move in loan now with 48 hours or so to go of the transfer window. However, he still does have a future here, lads. I still do believe he will get good game time this season under Ruben Amorim. Now, I know Amorim doesn't really seem to like him. However, still, you know, Amorim, will he be around for the rest of the season? To be honest, lads, I can't see it. We'll get on to that now in a minute or two. However, overall, Mainoo, we need to come on. Looked very good in midfield, very energetic and intense once again, and that's what we need in the midfield there, of course. You know, Amorim saying Mainoo needs to fight for the position with Bruno. That's complete nonsense in my opinion. Mainoo can easily play alongside Bruno Fernandes, and we'll see a much better midfield pairing between those 2 players than we will see with a Casemiro or an Ugarte alongside Bruno Fernandes there in midfield. So Kobbie Mainoo here in this one, very impressed by his display. Off the bench, he can get a 7 here. Benjamin Sesko did come on then with 20 minutes to go once again. Like, Sesko deserves more time, in my opinion. You know, we spent 75 million on a new, young, exciting striker, and we're just not using him, of course. He'll get a 4 here, though, because I thought, you know, with 2 chances, he needs to put away at least one of those. The first chance was a very good one. However, he does get a bit of a nudge there from a Burnley player, which I do believe caused them to store that header a bit over the bar. However, still, you know, he jumped so high there in that one, of course. So, you know, that was good to see there. But the second header I thought was very, very bad. And overall, on the ground with Jules and all, he was losing the ball quite a lot too. Still not the finished product, however, still, hopefully we stick by him. Hopefully he gets more game time. And hopefully we see Benjamin Sesko nurture over time and becoming a very good striker for United. And to finish off the subs then, we've seen the first appearance of the season for Nusayr Mazraoui. He can get a 6 here, lads. I thought Mazraoui in his performance was very good. He got stuck in, you know, good tackling here in this one, good defensively, and so overall Mazraoui can get a 6 here. And finishing off then with my Ruben Amorim manager rating, and I'm actually going to give Ruben Amorim a 4 here in this one, and it's not because of our setup, it's not because of the football we played, it's not because of the subs or the team selection. Although I thought the selection could have been a bit better in the team, I still do believe, you know, this rating is not because of that, of course, because ultimately at the end of the day, we played good football here in this one. We probably should have won this game by a lot more, and so overall I do believe, you know, the fact that we only won this in here by the skin of our teeth is down to the players more so than it's down to Ruben Amorim, in my opinion, because we really should be scoring a lot more goals there in that one. However, why has he got a 4 rating? That's probably what you're all wondering, and it's because of his body language and his overall demeanour, because I mean, the camera constantly showed him throughout the game, and the man just did not look like he gave one damn whatsoever by being there, of course. Now, in my opinion, lads, you know, apparently there's meant to be a meeting after this game about his future at United, of course. In my opinion, it would not surprise me whatsoever if Ruben Amorim walks during the international break. It would not surprise me. And I'm looking at this overall, his body language, like, I mean, you look at before Bruno Fernandes' penalty, right before the penalty, which was a moment defining the entire game here. It's the moment defining whether or not we get our first win of the season or not. And he's sitting there, you know, looking up at the sky with his feet up on the brick wall, of course, just in front of the dugout there. You know, it's just terrible overall. Like, he just doesn't look like he does care. And after Brian Mbeumo's goal to make it 2-1, right after we conceded to make it 1-1, I can see him, like, you know, turning his back from the pitch and shaking his head. And, you know, this isn't a new thing as well. I mean, against Grimsby Town in the Carabao Cup, during the penalty shootout, he was sitting there in the dugout. He wasn't even watching the penalties, of course. So overall, like, he's looking so negative, of course. You know, nothing positive about him whatsoever here. And in my opinion, does he look like a man who's going to be around at United for much longer? No. So although I do believe still the board want to buy into his project, and me too, lads, I want to buy into his project as well. I do believe Amorim to stay eventually, you know, with a bit more game time with these players under their belts, eventually when half the league starts playing in the European football too, I do believe still we're going to see good football from the system come as a result here. However, still, you know, his body language overall not good enough here. But definitely I'm happy with him. I do want to sit by him. However, I tell you what, if he does walk before our next game against Man City after the international break, it would not surprise me whatsoever. So Ruben Amorim, overall, this should be a positive enough rating for him. However, because of his body language and overall demeanour, which absolutely stunk here in this one, for the manager of Man United, in my opinion here, 4 is as high as I can give him. Anyway, lads, I'm going to end it as Man United v Burnley match reaction. Hope you have enjoyed it, of course. What do you think of the match today? I'd love for you all to let me know down in the comments below. As always, lads, remember to like the video, subscribe, click the bell, also follow me over on Instagram too. And so then, lads, I'll see you all then on the next one here on KDFG.